Hi, everyone. Welcome to RBD's Workout Wednesdays, a weekly show designed to deliver bite-sized training sessions that equip and empower you with practical tools to unlock and unblock your path to success. Our show features industry experts from our other weekly show, Rev Shots. We're showcasing real-world tactics and strategies that work. Tune in to make your numbers, retain your team, and delight your customers. Follow me on LinkedIn or join our mailing list to stay updated on our latest speakers and episodes. Let's move forward together, one Wednesday at a time. Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday. And so excited to have our Workout Wednesday today. As you all know, Workout Wednesday is a continuation of our show, Rev Shots, where we bring industry experts, really smart people doing really cool things in their verticals and in their sphere of influence and space, and have some great conversations with them about the problems they're seeing, how they're being solved, and what people are doing to be successful. I'm your host, Dion Major, founder of Revenue by Design. And with us today, we have Alyssa Nolte. Alyssa, how are you today?
I am doing great. It is a little bit rainy outside, but there is sunshine in the forecast, so we're excited about that.
We love that. Isn't it amazing how, I don't know about you, the weather as I've gotten older kind of plays a part in things. And I'm not saying I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, it definitely can be like a make or break for me. Like it shouldn't be that serious, but somehow it has become that serious.
Right? Yeah, I think sometimes for me it's, now the kids are inside, now the dogs are inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize the freedom you have when you can just go outside when you want to. So,
yeah, for sure.
Well, you had come on our show, Rev Shots, recently, and we were talking about what you're doing with TrueView. You were also a speaker at our H2H Human Connections Done Right conference. And tell us a little bit about TrueView. And the purpose of this show then is to show us TrueView, right? And kind of show us in real time, like the problem you're solving for folks and what you're hearing and what people like most at the end of the day. So tell us a little bit about you and TrueView, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah. So for the last decade, I've been helping companies large and small understand their customers more deeply so they can better prioritize their time, right? I don't know about you, but I do not have any extra time to send another email, to do another Zoom call, or to try to connect with my customers. So the whole point of TrueView is to help you figure out which customers actually need your attention and which customers you can leave alone for another day, and which customers, might need a little more education and which customers might need a little more marketing.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea behind TrueView is, look, we're never going to get more time back. We're not going to invent those time machines. So how do we work smarter? How do we use data to our advantage rather than being used by data?
I love everything you just said, Alyssa. And I don't know about you, but I have been waiting for technology to catch up with exactly what you just said, because for so long, technology just wasn't there, right? To make it easy to your point, to look at data and then take action against it. And so for so much of our time, we're spending, like you said, once you spend a minute, you never get it back. That's why time is our most precious resource. Once you spend it, it's gone. And so what I love about what you're talking about is we're minimizing, it's not wasting time, but we're making better use of time where the data is already surfaced, and our professionals, our sales professionals, and our teams and our leaders can place their poker chips of time appropriately. Right. We're freeing up mind share and we're enabling teams to move with less friction is really what I'm hearing.
100%. And to let people do things that actually matter to them and that only we as humans can do. So you talked about that. I was a speaker for your Human to Human Summit. I'm a big believer. I'm pushing an AI technology. It's all data centric, it's all tech centric, but it's because I believe that we need to let these tools do that busy work for us so that we can do the deep work, the work that matters. Yes. Otherwise, we are all going to be burned out professionals by the time we hit our mid-30s.
100%, Alyssa. And there's so many people that are there where we're not using our tools appropriately. Everybody's used to kind of run, but we don't have to do that anymore. And so if we slow down and take 20, 30 minutes, incremental minutes to set the stage, tell the bots what to do, we can actually free up precious time, resources, and mind share to have really amazing human to human interactions.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was late to our call because I was just on a call with another individual where great platform, and it takes human engineering, right? Not engineering like a degree, but like it takes the human element to craft and create what good looks like for you, your organization, your team, this person, in order to make the bot perform. Right. So I love what you're saying, and I couldn't agree with you more, where there's still this notion of the human element, just not in the way it was.
Yes,
So
100%.
better. So let's dive in to TrueView and show what that would look like if I'm a CS leader, if I'm a CS person, if I'm a CS professional, that your solution allows me to make my life better and more meaningful, plus more meaningful for my clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And what I hopefully you're seeing is our mascot view. This is everybody's got to have a mascot. We have to have one too. And what I'm going to show you today is I'm actually going to give you a different kind of demo than you've probably ever had before for software. Instead of just showing you the product, I'm going to take you under the hood and tell you about the intellectual property that drives this. I'm going to give you the questions we use. You can do this and replicate it yourself. If you want TrueView to handle the minutia for you, great, use TrueView. If you want to run this inside your own system, you're going to find something here that's going to help you do that. So today I am going to take you almost behind the scenes as we experience what we are doing with TrueView. So first out, we're going to give you a quick workout summary. I'm going to bring you through the data, the insights, and the action. What do your customers do, think, and feel? And if they'd buy again. We're going to give you my cheat sheet to decode what the signals actually mean. And then I'm going to tell you how you take action, how you turn customer experience into an actual driver of revenue growth. So really quick, the data. What do your customers do, think, and feel? And more importantly, if they'd buy again. So I like to measure 4 key things. Engagement, meaning is this the right people? Do we have the right usage? And is there real adoption of your solution? This is what most people do. They look at, are they submitting support tickets? Are they logging into my software? Are they actually using my product? But there's another human layer that a lot of people ignore, either because they don't know how to get the data or they don't have permission to get the data. And so we look at sentiment. What do they say about you when you're not in the room? We also look at perception. Do they trust you? Do they like you? Do they believe that you bring value to their day-to-day? And do they believe that you understand the problems and challenges that they're facing? And then last, this is my favorite question, consideration. It's essentially like our version of NPS, but it's a question of how likely are you to get the first shot at their business when it comes time to renew? But there is a hidden piece to consideration that I always like to point out is it's not just how much you have for renewal. It's how much grace do you get when you screw up, when you make a mistake, when something doesn't work right. And a lot of people forget that we will make mistakes, but we have to have a plan for how we mitigate those risks and how much risk we can take.
I
So
think
I'm
that's
gonna, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
sorry. I think that's so amazing because we don't get grace if we don't have the relationship.
Exactly. And
Right.
you segued perfectly into that next thing, because what we have to understand is how do you quantify that relationship, right? So
Mm,
there's about a million ways to do this. This is our way. I'm giving you 3 bullet points for our engagement strategy. There's about 10 that underpin this pillar. But essentially we'll ask something like, hey, Dion, when you think about the decision maker, the person who's actually writing the check, are they on a scale of 1 to 5? Where do they fall? 1 being they don't even know our name. 3 being, I can call them. I've sat on calls with them. They know our name and they understand our value. All the way to 5 of I can call in a favor.
mm,
I can go all in with them and we'll still be good to go. And a lot of people pay attention to that decision maker. Then they start to forget about their champions, the people who
mhm,
are maybe not writing the checks, but
mhm.
are quietly whispering in the ear of the decision maker. They're making the short list of your future replacement or your competitors. And so we ask essentially the same question. Do you have champions in your system? And do you have more than one? Have you multi-threaded inside of the
Yep.
business?
Yep.
Because it's really easy to build one best friend.
Yep.
But if your entire sale is predicated on one person, the minute they leave, what happens?
Yep.
And especially in this day and age of work, we are not staying at companies like we used to. It's not a promotion, it's a new company. We're jumping ship faster than ever. So if you're not multi-threading your champion relationships, then you're going to have a really hard time staying in that account. The other thing that we've learned is that the number one predictor of your customer not renewing their service with you is that they stop engaging with you. So if you reach out to them and they are ghosting you, or if you send them a survey and they don't respond when they previously were people who were fairly responsive, that should be an incredible red flag. And you have to have a system by which to track and measure and understand that.
Yep. Yeah.
We also look at perception, basically 4 key areas. And this actually originated in political research. And we found that in politics, in the same way we decide who we're going to vote for in an election, we look at a couple of things. Do I trust this person?
Yep.
Do I like this person? Do I believe that they have what it takes to lead? Do I believe they're going to bring value to my everyday? Well, those perceptions do not change simply because we're talking about a person versus a company. So if you think about your brand, say like, I trust Zoom to behave in my best interest. Do we feel that way? Do we feel that Zoom is building something that's for us, right? If that's your brand name. We also have things like Zoom is true to what they do and who they serve. How many of us would be flabbergasted if Zoom announced that they were actually going to now be an e-commerce platform, right? But your collaboration, why would you transform overnight, right?
Yep.
It would be in misalignment with who they are and who they serve.
Yep.
Things like what it takes to lead my industry. How many times have we seen products that are trying to enter a brand new industry, but for many, many years they were financial and now they're trying to be healthcare? Do those things come into alignment? Does it make sense for them to move in that direction? And if healthcare doesn't believe that Zoom has what it takes to deliver for their industry, then they're not going to give Zoom the time of day.
Yeah.
And then last, Zoom brings value to my day. I think we can all agree that, look, I don't want to be on more Zoom calls. But what I do want is the ability to live wherever I want to live and still connect with customers and employees and give people the opportunity to connect online instead of having to fly across the country to see people and work with people. We also look at 2 other key areas. Sentiment is one of my favorite questions. If you're not asking this in your customer success practice, you need to start doing it because it is the easiest question to ask that gives you the best thumb on the pulse of what your customers are saying. Deanna, I might say to you, like, what are 3 words that you would use to describe Zoom?
Yeah. Easy, cost effective, and it helps with my relationships.
So there we understand, like, how can I come back to you, Dion, if I'm Zoom and say, okay, I'm so glad that you find our platform easy to use. Here's a brand new feature we're implementing that's going to take that to the next level. So now we have a finger on what Dion cares about so we can position our marketing towards Dion.
And it gives people context too. Sorry, Alyssa. It gives people context to have a really good conversation. And sometimes that's missing.
Yeah. And it's a simple question that people can put their arms around, right? Because if I asked you almost the same question, I say, Dion, tell me, how great is Zoom? What do you enjoy about it? And then that can go a lot of different directions, or it can skew away from their truth because I just told you, tell me how great Zoom is, instead of saying, tell me how you would describe your experience with Zoom. Because you might have said, crashes all the time, always updating when I'm trying to enter a meeting, and used to be great. Right. And so that tells us that we have a brand perception problem. We have an innovation problem. We need to address those issues. And I did it all asking a single question that people can understand and come up with pretty ready answers for.
Yeah.
So that's great. I just gave you basically a sneak peek of 5 or 6 questions that we like to ask in this process.
Yeah.
The next question I always get is, okay, cool. Now what?
Yeah.
And so I came up with this cheat sheet a couple of years ago. That's basically a way for you as someone, if you're not in love with data and dashboards and trying to understand and tease out the data and looking at the crosstabs, this is my cheat sheet for anyone who wants to just do the things and doesn't want to have to think too hard about digging into the data or filtering the data. Yeah. So traditional, like graph, right? On the y-axis, we have value to the user. Basically, how much value does this bring to their experiences? How much is it helping them, making their business better or their personal lives better? And then on the bottom axis, we have perception of that performance. How well do they believe that you do this
Right.
specific activity? So I've
Mm,
got my 4 key areas. Bottom left is let them go, then campaign, let them be, and educate. And so if they have a high value experience and they believe that you are really the best that there is at this particular solution, tooling, whatever we're looking at, it's going to feel counterintuitive because a
mm,
lot of my CS and salespeople want to hang out with that customer because that
yes.
customer likes us and we're doing a good job and it feels good to talk to them. But in reality, unless you have a very strategic reason to spend your time with this customer, you should let them be.
Yeah.
Unless there is an opportunity to cross sell or to add more product or upsell or get a customer story, don't waste a precious touch point or your precious time on a customer who's probably going to renew without your intervention.
Yep.
On
Yeah.
the flip side, if there's low value to the user, like they don't understand why they're paying for this thing, and they also don't really like your brand very much, you might have to make the strategic decision to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurts, right? Because we don't want to ever say that like it's okay to lose a customer, but sometimes it's okay to lose a customer if it means that you can spend more time on the customers who can move in a different direction.
Yep.
The other 2 quadrants are all about how do we move them into the let them be category. So if they have high value, they're getting a lot of value, but they're not giving you credit for that value, it's time for you to go on the campaign offensive. How do I
Mm-hmm.
tell the story of value and my contribution to it? How do I get credit for the value that they're getting?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then of course, if they might like your brand, but if they haven't quite figured out how to maximize your product or they're not really getting value, it's time to educate. You need to work with your customer to help them understand how to max value so that they can go forward confidently and not only give you credit for being a great brand, but give you credit for the value that they're receiving. The
Yeah.
whole goal is to either move people into the let them be category or to let them go, but not to let people linger in campaign or educate.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you just anchored on the purpose of it as well, right? Because so many times we have clients or prospects or whatever the case may be that we need to make a decision on at the end of the day. And sometimes people stay in the swirl of no decision. And at the end of the day, it's just bad. It keeps inertia in place, if I had to say it that way.
I'm a big believer that no decision is a decision. You're
It
just
is.
deciding to let someone else do it for you.
Yes. Yes.
And it's sometimes it feels just better to let the universe take over and drive the bus. But if you truly want to grow,
Yep.
you're going to have to make choices, and those choices are going to be hard because there's actually a third element here that you really can't put on the screen. And that's sometimes a customer is a strategic decision. They
Yeah.
might even be in that let them go category, but they're a marquee client or there's a reason that the company wants to retain them. And in that case, you have to go on the double offensive. Not only do you have to campaign for your value, but you have to educate on your performance and your perception of this experience.
Yeah. 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 I think the key word there, you always have such great keywords, Alyssa, right? When we were on Rev Shots, it's talking about curate, and now we're talking about making a decision at the end of the day. And quite frankly, being in the driver's seat, because we most folks want to and need to, and we don't sometimes know how to elegantly do that either. So yeah.
I agree 100%. So I am hosting a deep dive mastermind tomorrow. I actually only have 2 seats left. So if you want to join, please send me a LinkedIn message to grab that seat. And essentially what I'm going to do is take you through all of these questions. So I showed maybe 5 or 6 today. There's more than 25 that you can choose from depending on the reason that you are reaching out. And then we'll go deep dive on how to segment your customers, how to collect this data, how to take action on it, and then of course, how to tie it into your existing sales methodologies and playbooks because your customers already know how they want to buy. We just have to get our sales teams aligned to make sure we sell that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love what you just said as well. So thank you for that. Everybody, Alyssa, any parting thoughts?
Nope, just hopefully everyone is deciding to keep the human at the center of it all, even when you're wrapped in a world of technology and AI. Remember that we need to build for people and not for robots.
Amen to that. I love it. Love everything you just said, as usual. And so everybody, we'll also put Alyssa, the link for people to join as well. So as you are watching this recording, sharing it with your internal stakeholders and your clients and colleagues, make sure you include that link and join Alyssa at her deep dive mastermind tomorrow or Thursday. Yep, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We thank you so much for this, Alyssa. Thank you for being part of the RBD tribe and community. Thank you for speaking at our events. Thank you for bringing your wisdom to everyone at the end of the day and making everybody's lives better. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you.